So if you look at the traditional RAN, right, there are two main components that make up the RAN. First one is remote radio units, RRUs. That is typically installed right below the antennas. And then second component is baseband units, which is typically installed right below or underneath the cell tower. RRUs and BBUs are physical proprietary hardware. And they usually work as a single logical box. So it's a monolithic.
I've heard that story before, Yusuke. It sounds familiar.
So you can kind of guess, right? If you have monolithic proprietary hardware, what are the disadvantages?
Yeah, well, they're not flexible and they're expensive.
Exactly, right? So imagine, right? If you have to increase the coverage or you have to build more cell sites you build, more expensive your network becomes. So it's a linear increase, right? Now, as I mentioned, RRUs and DDUs are deployed somewhat close proximities. There are certain reasons, right?
Sure. I would guess security probably would be a big one, and then performance and speed.
Exactly, right? So security, performance, speed, all those are very important aspects. And I may add one more thing, right? Our customers needs to maintain less signal attenuation loss, right? So shorter the distance between RRUs and BBUs, less attenuation loss. Security, as you mentioned, performance, speed, and less attenuation loss. All of those are very important aspects for our customers to have the reliable communications in the RAN.
Great, Yusuke, that makes perfect sense. I guess my first question would be, knowing where we're starting from then, what's the first step? Where should customers typically start with this transformation?
Yeah, so, probably next step would be centralized RAN, right? And as you already mentioned earlier, the traditional one is rigid and expensive. So if you look at the examples of like femtocell, microcell, right? We as an industry have started to put BBUs in the centralized locations, right? Like central offices, right? And that's what the basement hotel is. And then you probably have heard terminology basement hotel, right?
Yes.
So, at the basement hotel site, there's a pool of BBUs serving different RRUs. So, if you look at it, right, we've started to split two important components of the RAN, right? RRUs and BBUs. So RRUs are still located at the cell towers, whereas BBUs are located now at the centralized location.
Okay. So when does virtualization place it?
Good question, right? Because centralized RAN, as I was about to say, the next step would be the virtualized RAN. If there is a pool of BBUs at the basement hotel, why not take the BBU software from the proprietary hardware and run those BBU software on the COTS servers as virtualized instances, right? Now, I may be oversimplifying this, but BBUs consist of multiple functionalities, right? These functionalities are split into two categories. And, you probably have heard many times, those are the distributed units and
yeah.
Right. So those are the distributed unit and centralized unit. And if we look at our telco cloud platform RAN, our platform hosts virtualized DUs and virtualized CUs.
Okay.
So what we are really saying is that our platform hosts different functionalities of the virtualized BBUs.
Okay. So then true to what we are oh so good at, that means that those DUs and CUs can be deployed across different resources, correct?
Yes, and different areas as well, right?
Right.
So that's how we provide the flexibility, right? Because VDUs can be deployed at the cell site, right? Whereas VCUs may be deployed at the central office, or both VDUs and VCUs at the cell site, or VCUs, VDUs both at central office. So depending on our customers, they are depending on their needs and how they want to build their networks to serve their customers, we provided this flexibility.
Okay. So, now that we understand that some of that, the hardware disaggregation, let's talk really quickly about the RAN functions themselves. What does that mean with regards to the kind of vendors that can enable from a software layer?
So up to this point, right, both BBUs, RIUs are from a single or same vendors. Yes.
Okay. So when we move to Open RAN, can these different RAN functionalities, like the DUs, like the CUs, and even the RRUs, can they be provided by any vendor?
Right. That's the benefit or beauty of the Open RAN. Yeah. So if you look at the examples of like femtocell, microcell, we as the industry have started to put BBUs in the centralized locations, like central offices, right? Because, front haul technologies is evolving, performance is there, right? Security is much better. So that's the reason, we started to put BBUs in, those central offices.
Okay. And that's what a baseband hotel is, right?
Exactly, right? So at the baseband hotel site, there's a pool of BBUs serving different RIUs. So as you can see, we've started to split two important components of the RAN, right? RIUs and BBUs. So RIUs are still located at the cell towers, whereas BBUs are located now at the centralized location. But if you look at this RAN or Open RAN, there are many functionalities involved with the RAN, right? As we were talking about RIUs and BBUs, and we already talked about the BBUs can be split into virtual DUs and virtual CUs. But if you look at a little bit deeper, all these functionalities must communicate with each other, right?
Right.
But because all these functionalities are provided by one single vendor, basically they are communicating with each other with a proprietary interface, right?
That has to be where the ORAN comes in.
Exactly, right? Okay. So that's where they are, the organization like ORAN Alliance, as you said, is defining the open interfacing or open interfaces and standardizing them, right? Basically, communication from RIUs to DUs and CUs, all through open interfaces, right? So, Open RAN is to disaggregate the RAN hardware and software and run these multi-vendor run software on a vendor neutral platform like our telco cloud platform RAN. So this is the reason as to why, our horizontal design, right? Our platform is horizontal, and the importance of this, horizontalness. So, just to kind of conclude this, right? The benefits of all of this, number one, application or network functions are modernized, right? Cloud native. Number two, RAN is disaggregated. And number three, because the RAN is open and built with the best of breed solutions, the RAN becomes programmable.
Okay. Well, that's pretty exciting space. So pretty much what I've caught here is, look, to transform the RAN, first we need to centralize. Then there's a virtualization step. After that is when we can talk about the openness and bring in multi-vendor into the picture.
Right.
That's when it gets exciting.
Exactly. And that's where we want to enable our customers to migrate to.
Right. Perfect. Thank you so much for that rundown. I appreciate it.